Okay, no, thanks very much. So yeah, I'm Rupert Warren from I'm a Homes Finder Somerset coordinator. I work on behalf of the four districts and the partner housing associations across Somerset. So what I was going to talk about, I was just going to try and whiz through a presentation, provide a bit of background to Home Finder Somerset, explain what the aims are, and most importantly, how it works, and then obviously take any questions or comments. If we have time, I will sort of provide a demo of the actual website of how, so you can see how it works actually in practice. So Home Finder has been up and running since December 2008. It's a partnership between all four district local authorities in Somerset, so it covers the whole of the county council area. At the moment, there are nearly 11,400 households who are currently registered across the whole of Somerset. And this slide breaks down that number by the band which their application has been placed in, and I'll come on to explain what that means later and how we do that, and also the size of property that households have been assessed as needing. And you'll see from a quick glance at the figures that just over half of the households that have applied to Home Finder have been assessed as needing a one-bed property, so they're either a single person or a couple without kids, and just over a quarter have been assessed as needing a two-bed. And over in terms of what band they've been placed in, you can see just over half of applications have been placed in bronze band and so on. Obviously, I've sent these slides across, so I'm just going to sort of dash through them because it, not long on time. So obviously, those figures, more than happy for the presentation and those figures to be shared around. And I wanted to contrast that really, the number of households who are on the register with the number of homes that are actually available, because the one thing I would stress is that whilst we do work to try and make sure that Home Finder Somerset works as fairly and efficiently as possible, it doesn't solve the fundamental issue that there's a lack of social housing available in Somerset, but it more generally across the UK. Since Home Finder has been up and running in 2008, nearly 35,000 homes have been let through the scheme across the whole of the county. And the figures on the table there show the breakdown of the 2,260 homes that were let between the 1st of September 2021 and the 31st of August 2022. Apologies, I've just seen that I didn't update the date on the table. Sorry, I accidentally clicked forward. And you'll see there's in terms of the breakdown, 38% of homes were one bed, 40% were two bed, and just under 20% were three bed. In terms of the how those properties were let, who those properties were let to, just under half, so 47% were let to households in the gold band, 42% were let to households in silver band. The reason I wanted to flag these figures up is really shown by this slide, which shows the comparison between the number of people looking for a number of households looking for a property who are registered with Home Finder Somerset, shown by the blue bars, and the number of homes that were let in the year to the 31st of August. And you'll see there's, like, say, for example, on this top bar, that there is a massive difference between the number of people who are registered with Home Finder who've been assessed as needing a one bed and the number of one bed properties that were let in the year to the end of August. Looking really crudely, looking at these figures, it would take 7 years to house everyone with a one bed need, 3.5 years to house everyone with a two bed need, 4 years for those with needing a three bed, 9 years for those with a four bed need, 18.5 years for those with a five bed need, and we've only ever let 5 6-bed homes through Home Finder since 2008. So just really wanted to raise those figures because I really think it does show starkly the difference between the numbers of households that are seeking a home and the number of homes that are available. And so we would always stress, I do appreciate the difficulties. especially at the moment with the cost of living crisis and stuff, for people to consider all housing options, whether that be private renting, whether that be maybe can remain staying with family for a bit longer. But that there just is that enormous pressure on social housing. And that obviously, those figures there, the number of years that I've just given there, ignores the fact that there are any new households are joining the register. And this slide shows that over the last 7 months, we've had an average of around 970 new applications across the county. So it is quite a stark picture, I'm afraid. In terms of the aims of Home Finder Somerset, the aims are fundamentally to give people seeking a council or housing association home with an element of choice, and also the ability to move within Somerset, rather than each of the 4 district councils having their own register. We also aim, a subsidiary aim for Home Finder Somerset is to that it provides a common scheme across the county that gives a single point of access. It's transparent and it's as easy to understand and accessible to all. Okay, so coming on to explain how it works. Under Home Finder Somerset, we have a common application form. It's an online application form. We do understand that there are some people who are not happy or able to use the internet, and they don't have any family or friends or a support network to help them with that. So in those circumstances, the local authorities will work with the household to work through the application form over the phone. Like I said, that's really for people who are unable to use the internet and they don't have family or friends or a support agency to help them with that. Home Finder Somerset is effectively, it's a common housing register for Somerset. So that's a really important benefit of a scheme like Home Finder, because rather than having separate waiting lists or housing registers for each of the 4 local authorities and all of the different partner landlords, there's just the one common housing register. So there's one register of everyone that's seeking a council or a housing association home in Somerset. And also importantly, we have a common approach to assessing housing needs and awarding priority. And that's set out in the Home Finder Somerset policy. And I'll come on to talk about how we assess applications in a moment. We also have a common approach to advertising properties. And again, I'll come on to summarise how we do that. So when someone applies to Home Finder Somerset, so they work through the online application form and they submit the online application form, having provided all of the information. The application will come into one of the 4 Somerset local authorities, and that's determined by, we ask people when they're completing the form, if you live in Somerset, which of the 4 local authority areas would you like to live in? And based on their response, it will be that local authority that manages the application. So if it's, say, for example, someone's indicated that they would like to live in Somerset Western Taunton, it will be the team at Somerset Western Taunton Council that assess the application and manage that application going forward. So when a council receives the application, they will look at all the information that the household has provided about their current circumstances, their reason for needing to be rehoused, and they will assess the application against the Home Finder Somerset policy and place it into one of 4 bands, which I'll come on to in just a moment to explain briefly what those mean. But just to say, first of all, the Home Finder Somerset policy is based on, we have to act in line with government legislation and guidance, and the government sets out what they call reasonable preference categories. So that's groups of people, for example, homeless people, people living in sanitary conditions, people whose health is affected by their current home. We have to provide them with what's called reasonable preference on the in terms of seeking a council or a housing association home. So how the Home Finders Somerset Partnership have done that is obviously it's all set out in the policy, which is freely available on the website, which is homefindersomerset.co.uk. And we have four bands as set out on the slide. So with the top band, which is emergency band, that is for people with a real urgent need to move very quickly. And as you may remember from the slide, the breakdown of the current number of 11,400 households who are registered, there are a very small number, around about 14 households at any one time in the emergency band. And they may be people who are bed blocking in hospital and they can't be discharged from hospital because they either have no home to go to or their home is not suitable for them to return to. Say, in an extreme example, but it sadly has happened, someone being admitted to hospital who lived in a first floor flat with no lift, unfortunately had to have a leg amputated, physically couldn't get up to or down from their flat, so was bed blocking in hospital. It could also include people who are fleeing the threat of serious violence. And for any of these categories, as you would expect, we need sort of corroborating evidence from an appropriate partner, whether that be from the hospital in the case of people who are bed blocking, or the police or other appropriate agency. I'm just going to whiz through I won't go through all of the categories in each of the bands, but as well as, just to say, as well as the policy being freely available on the Home Finders Somerset website. Oh, sorry, I think I lost my connection there. Can everybody still hear me okay?
Yeah, I lost you for a second, but you're back now.
Oh, great. Okay. Sorry about that. I think my Wi-Fi must have dropped out. So, okay. So yeah, going back to going through the bands. So yeah, below emergency band, we have gold band, and that will include people who are assessed as homeless, and the local authority has Wi-Fi is going. Sorry, I don't know why my Wi-Fi is going. Sorry, hopefully I'm back again now. I'm not sure. Sorry, apologies. I'm not sure what's causing that. Yeah, Virgin must be having problems in our area, unfortunately. So I mentioned, yeah, in gold band would also include people who are severely overcrowded and lacking two or more bedrooms. And then moving down to silver band, that could include people who are also being assessed as homeless, and the local authority has accepted what's known as either a prevention or relief duty. Also could include people who are lacking a bedroom, but only lacking, so they're overcrowded, but just lacking one bedroom. Could also include, as could the other bands, people whose health or the welfare is being affected by their current accommodation. It's really important to note that when we make an assessment of people's health or welfare, what we're doing there is not looking at how ill someone is. What we're looking at is the impact that their current home is having on either their physical or mental health. And yeah, just to be stark, if someone wouldn't, if their physical or mental health wouldn't be improved by moving home, then they wouldn't receive any priority under Home Finders Somerset. And then we move down to bronze band, which, as I mentioned, accounts for just over half of the households who are registered, and that would include people who are assessed as being adequately housed or have adequate financial resources to meet their own housing need. It could include, just to flag up, it could include households who are private renting and they're struggling with their rent, with affordability. But unfortunately, that isn't one of the reasonable preference categories that the government have set down. Having said that, there is scope within the welfare banding within Home Finder towards some priority to those households. So if you bear with me. So just moving on then. So the other assessment that is made when someone applies to Home Finder Somerset is the size of property that they need. What we do under Home Finder is we mirror the housing benefit rules. So one bedroom is allowed for a single applicant or a couple and also a bedroom is allowed for two children under the age of 16 of the same sex. So if you had two brothers aged 8 and 12, we would say that they could share a room. We say if there were two children under 10, we could share. The Home Finder policy, like housing benefit, would say that they can share a room regardless of sex. So if you had a 4-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl, we would say that they could share a bedroom. But as soon as the girl became 10, that she would need her own bedroom. And we would say that as soon as anyone turns 16, as with housing benefit, that they need their own bedroom. Okay, so in terms of how homes are advertised each week from a Wednesday through to a Sunday. So homes are advertised as soon as it goes past midnight on a Wednesday morning, and they're advertised for 5 full days until midnight the following Sunday. Applicants during that time, households are registered with Home Finder Somerset, can bid for up to 3 homes each week, and people can bid online on the website, which is homefindersomerset.co.uk. If they can't use the internet, they could contact the local authority and ask for a bid to be placed on their behalf. But we also do have the fallback of what's called auto bids. So as the name suggests, this is us setting up the IT system so that automatic bids are placed on behalf of a household. We can be quite specific. We can restrict that down, obviously, to the size of property that someone needs. We can also say that, if it's an older person with mobility issues who's only looking for a property in a particular area, we can specify that bids would only be placed for those type of properties. So say ground floor properties, perhaps, that are for older people, that are in particular, that are in a particular parish. But what I would say is that it's good as a last resort, but it's always better to have some human input, because at the end of the day, if someone's on auto bid, that's the IT system deciding which properties to place bids for. And even though it might be in the parish that someone wants, it might not, the IT system wouldn't know that they don't want, that they only would consider one particular village. So if anyone has, friends, family, or a support network that can bid on their behalf, if they're unable to do so themselves, that would always be a better option. Okay, so once properties have been advertised through to this Sunday, the landlord would then the next Monday morning, they would go in to the IT system, and they would be able to see a list of all the households that have bid for those properties. And normally households are ranked by band, so obviously emergency band applicants, if there are any, at the top of the list, then gold, then silver, and bronze. And if there are if there are a number of households in the same band who've bid for a property, which there almost always are, because on average in the last 3 months to the end of September, each home advertised through Home Finder Somerset received an average of 106 bids. So there would normally be a lot of, a number of households in gold, quite a lot in silver, and, a lot in bronze as well. So within the band, so in terms of the households, say, who bid that are in gold band, they would be ordered by how long they've been in that band to make it as fair as possible. The only exceptions to that are made very clear on adverts. That's if people require what's called a local connection to a particular rural area. So, say for example, it's a property in a a rural village, either a new build or a relet of a property that has got planning conditions on it, that it's applicants will only be considered if they have a local connection to that village. So those, and by local connection I mean that they either have lived there for a number of years, or that they work there, or that they have immediate family there. And in those situations, households with that local connection would be placed at the top of the list of people who've bid for a property. So landlords will work down the list of people who've bid to find the first suitable applicant, and who meets any preferences or requirements that are stated on an advert. Say, for example, if it's a property that's suitable for someone who uses a wheelchair, then landlords would normally say preference will be given to households that need wheelchair accommodation. So they'd work down the list to find the first household that needs wheelchair accommodation. Landlord would then undertake a verification process to assess the suitability of the household as a tenant. They would obviously look at their their tenancy history, their finances, to make sure that they can afford the property and so on. And they would normally they would invite the household that they're considering to view the property, so the household can see whether that is actually somewhere where they would like to live. If a landlord rejects an applicant following their verification, they find, for example, something has come up with their tenancy history and they're not willing to accept them, or if the applicant decides to decline the offer, they refuse it, then that is recorded on the Home Finder system. And if an applicant, when someone logs into their Home Finder Somerset application on the Home Finder Somerset website, they will be able to see the reason why they've been rejected for a property, and obviously they could challenge the landlord if they didn't feel that was appropriate. There are generally no penalties in terms of refusals, except for those households who've been accepted as homeless by one of the Somerset local authorities. Obviously, we would expect homeless households to not be refusing properties unless there's obviously reasonable grounds for them to refuse that property. So, say for example, if they went to see a property and they were abused by the person that would be their neighbour, that would be a reasonable grounds for refusal. Whereas, other reasons such as, garden being big enough for a trampoline or whatever, that wouldn't be considered as a reasonable refusals. But if people do refuse for homes, then they would be suspended for what was be considered unreasonable reasons. Then they would be suspended from bidding for 3 months. So there is a penalty that comes in but only after a number of unreasonable refusals. Okay, so that was what I wanted to cover in terms of a presentation. What I was going to quickly come on to is just to show the website and how it actually works in practice. So the website, which, as I mentioned, is homefindersomerset.co.uk. It's a public website, so anyone can visit the website, regardless of whether you're registered with Home Finder Somerset or not. Obviously, in order to bid for properties, you need to be registered, and you would need to log into the website and to be able to bid for properties. But there's a range of information on the website. But say, for example, the most common thing, obviously, that people do want to see are the homes that are currently available. So if you click on View Homes, you'll see that by default, you'll see there are 12, 15 properties shown by default, but you can currently this week there are around about 50 properties being advertised. You can just click on show more homes to see more properties that are being advertised. As you would expect, you can also use the search filters at the top to search for particular types of properties. The initial screen shows just summary information about a property. Say, for example, there's a one-bed flat in Beckington in Mendip. So, and you can see obviously it's one bed. It's for, between one and households of between one and two people. It's got a communal entrance. There's various sort of icons which, if you hover over, they show what they mean. So, and if you click on the property, it will provide further details of the property, and you can see the bigger version of the photograph. You can see all of the information that the landlord has provided about this property, all of everything that within the property, a garden and so on, details of the rent. For this particular property, I mentioned it is a new property, and there is a planning condition on this one that applicants have to have a local connection to Beckington, so that's made very clear, or surrounding parishes, but Beckington in the first instance. So that's made very clear on the advert. You can click on the map tab, and that will show you, if like me, you don't know, well, to be honest, I don't know where Beckington is in Mendip, but you can use the map tab to find out exactly where Beckington is in relation to where you live. If you were to click on View Larger Map, it would open up Google Maps on another tab, and you can use Street View and so on. So it's all aimed really with giving people as much information as possible that they can make an informed choice about whether this is somewhere that they would like to live. So, and the other tab that's available on adverts is the local info tab, and this takes information from Google about the nearest travel, whether that be the bus stop or train station, health facilities, shops and schools. So again, it's all about giving people as much information as possible. So also the other thing just to say about when looking for homes, one thing I think is quite useful is if you can use at the moment that all the homes that are available to rent are shown in a list format, but if you click on the map, then you can see where properties are. So say, for example, if you were interested in a property in Somerton, you can see that there's one property being advertised at the moment, and then you can click on take a look, and you can see the information there. So and in some cases there will be more than one photo. In this case, this is information from the landlord, Abri, but yeah, you can sometimes see more than one photo. So that was, I just quickly wanted to show the how to search for properties. But I would say it's definitely worthwhile looking at the help page. We've tried to put a range of information up on the help page. We've got the Home Finder Somerset policy, which I mentioned earlier. There's also the more digestible user guide, which explains, breaks down all the the categories in each of the bands and so on, and just explains how Home Finder Somerset works in simple terms. We've also got a range of frequently asked questions, and on the useful information page we've got sort of a range of information that will hopefully help people to make informed choices. It provides some of the numbers in terms of households who are registered with each of the 4 local authorities, how many homes have been let there in the last particular time period, and so on. So people can build up a better idea about demand in particular areas. If people are registered with Home Finder Somerset, they would click on the sign in to come onto this page, and they would sign in using their email address and their password, and then click log in. And then, so this is the screen that people would see if they are registered with Home Finder Somerset. Obviously, this is just a test application that I've set up. You can see that it's in bronze band, and the date is that they moved into bronze band was the 1st of August. You can see that we've got 3 bids left. So I could, when I click on View Homes now, you'll see that actually it's showing me by default when I'm because I'm logged in, it's only showing me properties that I'm eligible to bid for. I could click on all and see all the properties, but obviously there will be properties like this too, because my test applicant has been assessed as needing a 1-bed property, is not eligible to bid for 2 beds. So say, for example, if I was to click back onto this 1-bed flat in Beckington, which we saw earlier, you'll see now that I can, I've got the option to place a bid, and it's as simple as clicking that green box to place a bid. You'll see that also that the my current rank is shown, and I'm currently 58th. What I would say and stress is that that changes over time as people bid. As I said, people can bid from Wednesday morning first thing until last thing on a Sunday, and it's if someone. It doesn't matter if you bid at 1 minute past midnight on a Wednesday morning and you think, great, I'm first in the queue. What matters is where you are is at the end of the that bidding period. So if someone bids on a Sunday night and they're in a higher band than you, or they're in the same band as you, but they've been in that band for longer, then they will go above you. It's not a great analogy because but the closest thing I can think to is an eBay auction. It's obviously if someone comes in with a higher bid just before the end of bidding, then they will obviously go above you. So if people are able to look over the weekend, you may see that may be a better time to bid, because you will see where you are closer to the end of bidding, and you could always, if you thought, well, actually I'm 58 for this property, but I've seen on another property that I'm going to be 6th, that you could cancel your bid for that property and then use it to bid for another property. Okay, so yeah, going back to the your account screen. So just a couple of quick things just to finish off with. So there is if someone's registered with Home Finder Somerset and their circumstances have changed, for example, they've moved address, or that someone has either left their household or they've had a new child or whatever, they would need to update their application. So they would click on this button to update their application. At the moment, unfortunately, it's not great. People have to complete a blank version of the application form. What we are working with at the moment with the IT provider is that people will see, as you would expect, people would see all of the information that they previously provided. They can review that information and amend anything that needs changing, rather than having to enter everything in from scratch. So we are working as fast as possible to address that. Something I would suggest that people do is they can set up property alerts. So we've basically mirrored the likes of Rightmove and Zoopla and so on, is that you can set up property alerts. So is that if a property of the type that you're interested in is being advertised, then you will receive automatic emails from the system to make you aware of those properties. So emails are sent out first thing on a Wednesday morning and also first thing on a Sunday to let you know of any properties that match what you've said you're looking for. If people need to upload any supporting information to their applications, say, for example, when people first apply, they need to provide evidence of their name, their national insurance number, and their address. They can do that via the website, and it's a fairly straightforward process of clicking this button and then following the instructions to upload whether it be a picture that someone's taken on their smartphone or whatever, and they can upload that to their application, so that can then be assessed by the local authority that's managing their application. But that was it.